Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it. I hate it.
All right, we're back here on the Chase Thomas podcast from still the aforementioned Chase Thomas coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee. Everything's Cool HQ. We have got a full house. Looks like the Brady Bunch here on youtube.com/Chase Thomas podcast, because all of the Tennessee Vols sports guys, that 3 of which you can listen to and hear on the Chase on Fan Run Radio, Fox Sports Knoxville, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3. No Ryan Schumpert tomorrow. Ryan's just, he's big time. Ryan, it's just you just want to get whenever you can get Ryan Schumpert on, you just take the opportunity. But Ethan Stone, Saturday Down South on Thursdays, Jack Foster on Fridays, Ryan generally on Tuesdays as well. But I can't say Ryan because then you have Ryan Sylvia on Wednesday, so it's just kind of confusing, like back-to-back Ryan. So you're Shump and he's Sylvia. Just how it is.
RS too on both. I mean,
that's
not a whole lot of ways to get by it, which is without saying just the last name.
Chase is someone who talks to both frequently, pretty much every day. I've just started calling Schumpert. Like, and Sylvia's
not Shump.
Ryan.
You don't do Shump?
No, I don't. I mean, maybe a couple of times, but you know, I mostly just feel like I refer to him as Schumpert, unless we're just by ourselves.
My wife is a proponent of Shumpy. Like, she'll ask us Shumpy on.
I like Shumpy.
Xander Seacrest was a big Schlumpy guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
it's like Seinfeld, Schmoopy.
That's right. Don't call me that, but yeah, that is a Seinfeld reference.
Yeah, like in my phone, if we're in a group chat and both, like a message, you can't tell because they're both RS. So I just had to make Schumpert. Like, he's not even Ryan in my phone anymore. But Sylvia is Ryan Sylvia.
Interesting. Ethan, you're the only Ethan in the beat. There's no multiple Ethans.
Yeah, no Ethans, and I really only talk to Ryan, so I just have Ryan in my phone. It's
which
boring.
Ryan? We just talked about it. Which one?
Right here. He's on.
Okay. Well, I think Caleb. I'm doing the Jaw Rowe, who was on the pod or on the radio show today, and I'm just leaning into it. I'm just going full I'm just gonna go really as Cajun as I can and do the best I can, because I don't know if I'm getting it right. I think I'm doing better. Jaw Rowe. I'm doing the best I can. I don't know if that's right, but I'm still doing the best.
You should do the worst you can and just intentionally piss him off. That's what would be funny.
That's not in my nature. I'm not doing that.
You can do it. He'd do it to you, so you should do it to him.
Caleb's a pro, man. Caleb is he's a pro. He's like he's like what you want to find on a rookie contract, like in the NFL level, like a first round pick. He's a great find where you're like, wow, Caleb out of nowhere, ready to go. Caleb
value.
But I think
Caleb value guy.
But I think Caleb's also the type to, after a couple years, hold out. So he's gonna ask for dough through the nose here in a couple of years.
Caleb, interesting. I could see that.
Schumpert, you agree?
Yeah, no, I can see it. I think so.
He's just ready to go. He's locked in, and he's a man on a mission. Caleb Giroux is all business. Caleb he's in there, and he's got his takes, and he's free. Like, you would never think he's never done radio before, man. He's good. He just walks right in and just like, welcome to the show. And it's kind of like here, where it's kind of the Ryan and Ethan and Jack show most of the time, and I'm just kind of along for the ride, where I get bullied into no longer hosting my own show. It's kind of like Caleb's the leader there.
Yeah.
Can I have one show? I have multiple shows all around Knoxville, Tennessee. Do I get one of them?
I feel like Sylvia is your nicest guest host for sure.
Ooh.
Actually, I don't know. Ethan may be nicer, but definitely not me or Schumpert. And definitely
no,
Caleb.
It's definitely
Caleb's
not.
last.
No, it's definitely Ethan or Sylvia. Right now, I'm going to go Ethan. Sylvia's got here's the problem with Sylvia. He's been around Schumpert and Caleb and Jack too much. That's what's happening here. Is Ethan is off the grid in heritage, so Ethan is still just nice, and he's not around them. He's not getting the bad influence that you guys have brought on to Sylvia, and it just is rapidly changing. Like Sylvia now versus Sylvia in December, it kind of scares me. Like, I don't know what I'm walking into. It's a hornet's nest potentially there.
It's over by October. By October, it's done.
Yeah.
Also,
good.
Well, I was going to change the subject, but I was just going to use around the horn style FaceTime. We're so far into this, I don't think I'm getting the Ryan Schumpert Rocky Top Insider.
No,
so
that's over. Like, there's no chance in these foursome pods. Like, we're getting around the horn. There's no chance.
Yeah, so I'm using my my whatever 30 seconds at the end, like I won around the horn.
No, it's your show. Go ahead, man. It's it's Ryan Shumpert's world. We're just living in it, man. Number 2 park in the country.
Number 2 dog park in the country. What a dog park. Spectacular. Disc golf, one of the best too in the country. But happy birthday to my brother Grant, loyal listener to the Chase Thomas podcast. Got to give him the shout out.
There you go. Grant, birthday, taping this on a Monday. I like that. It's good. What age is Grant turning?
Oh, that's a good question. All right, let's
How do you not know your brother off the dome?
Oh, no.
I think he's 32. He may be 33. I think it's 32 though. I'm pretty sure it's 32.
Okay. So he's at 30.
This will be a good test. He'll tell me. I'm not going to ask him or anything. I'll figure out whenever he listens to this, probably driving to work in the morning, whether he turned 32 or 33. I think it's 32 though.
I'll tell you, as someone who just turned 34, not a whole lot of difference between 32, 33, and 34.
No.
It's just
he's still low 30s. You're mid 30s, but
that's
again.
See, I think I'm still early 30s. Can I get December? I just turned 30. I just turned 34. Can I get to December before I have to say mid 30s?
Wait, when's your birthday?
April.
And you just turned 34?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can get away with it.
Jack Foster, nicer than Ryan Schumpert.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't know if you can get away with it, but I won't call you out on it. Others might, but I would never.
All I know is here I am thinking I'm getting old, turning 23 in a month, and Chase is 34.
You're thinking you're getting old, Jack? What are you talking about? What?
It's getting to that stage where you don't know anybody who's in college anymore, and you're like, man, I'm getting up there.
You've been out for a year. There's all kinds of people. I was on a 6-year plan to graduate college. I was still in college at 23.
Oh, I graduated a year and a half ago.
All right, man. I took the long road. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm not hating on that. I'm just saying, like, I've been out for a minute now. Okay. I didn't just graduate.
Yeah. Wait till you do the math and you're like, I've been gone over a decade from undergrad. I graduated high school 16 years ago.
Yeah, you were in middle school when I was born. How do you feel about that?
What do you feel, Chase?
Not great, man. Just not great.
See, he looks down to show us his bald head to really drive the point of his age.
I watched the new episode of the new season of Only Murders in the Building with my wife right before we jumped on here. It was delightful. Top 7 TV intro in the biz. It's a great one.
Top 7.
It's fantastic. It's an absolute banger. And if ringtones were still a thing, it would be my ringtone for a little bit. It's phenomenal stuff. I was feeling great. And then here we go. Just reminding me, I'm just basically near retirement. Like we got to wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
You hate to see it.
I'm sure you won't bully you in the rest of the podcast.
Do you know what else you hate to see? 2/3 of this podcast, or I guess a fourth, or no, that's not fractions.
So tough. 1/2, I think is what you're looking for.
You can tell he's been out of school a while, all right? Been about 13 years since bro's had a math class.
Longer than that, man. I wasn't doing math in upper class, so
2 divided by 4 is a tough one too. That's one that goes quickly.
You go to communication classes.
Half of this program
avoid having to do math electives, so I get it.
Thank you, Ethan.
That was my entire plan for college was how do I avoid math as much as possible, and I took.
God, Ethan's down.
That's why I am where I am now.
What a friend!
I didn't want to do math.
That's great stuff. Yeah, geometry was tough. Tough look for your guy. Geometry was not my jam. But a half of this very podcast of the Tennessee Vols Sports Guys, very sad because a stunner 9-10 hours ago before we taped this, Dylan Loy, Pigeon Forge's own, the Loy boys on this very program have to accept the fact that Dylan Loy enters the transfer portal will not be a Tennessee Volunteer in 2026. We'll start with you, Ryan. Your reaction when you first saw this, and now that you had 9 hours to think about it, how big of a deal is this for Tennessee going forward? And how big of a risk is this for Dylan Loy not to just kind of maybe stick this out and see what happens in the winter, spring?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I think it hurts just from the standpoint of you look at Tennessee's roster and they got essentially we would project 3 guys that were arms that mattered for them this year back. So I think from that standpoint, just losing any of those guys is a tough blow. And Loy didn't have a great finish to the year, but for a large part of the year, he was really one of Tennessee's most trustworthy, if not their most trustworthy bullpen guy, especially early in SEC play when Tennessee was playing well. So I think it's definitely a loss. I think from the deal of, he wants to be a starting pitcher. He basically wanted that a starting spot guaranteed. Like, I get it. I think he could be a solid weekend starter for Tennessee if he would have returned and kind of, like you said, just played it out in the fall. And he ended up being a weekend starter. I don't think I would have hated it or been worried, kind of in the Will Heflin, AJ Causey range. If I don't think they're going to go out there and dominate, but go 2 times through the lineup, 4 or 5 innings, I think he's capable of doing that. But at the same time, I wouldn't guarantee them. I don't think he's good enough of a pitcher to guarantee that type of role going into the season, especially when you look at, I think, the 2 guys Tennessee does have back that were key arms this year, and Tegan Kuhns and Braden Krenzel, I think both fully have the potential to be weekend starters, and we'll see what else happens in the transfer portal. Obviously, Landon Mack, who visited last week from Rutgers, has the makings of a weekend starter. Clay Edmondson was that. We'll see if he makes it.
Is he a righty or lefty?
Edmondson or Mack?
Mack.
Righty. I don't know why I asked that. They're both right-handed. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's not a risk in the sense of his professional future, because I think he can go to an ACC team or a Big 12 team or maybe even a lesser SEC team, and they'll probably guarantee him that type of role. And I think, he'll have himself in position to maybe be drafted at this time next year. I just think when you look at the Pigeon Forge nature, Jack and some of the other guys on the beat we've talked about, who's going to be the face of Tennessee's team going into next season? Who's going to be the Weigels athlete is what we've used to as the phrase. And Loy was kind of a top option just from the standpoint of he was a returning guy. He was a local kid. So I think from the legacy standpoint and from the standpoint of, making some legit NIL money and the standpoint of, probably the best case scenario for him was to be at Tennessee and to become a weekend starter. And that was possible if he stayed even without that role promised. I think that, that aspect, it is a risk, and or maybe even honestly on the opposite side of a risk, it's like an almost an overly safe play, maybe potentially.
Yeah, Jack, I look at it because the first thing we heard coming out of the end of the season was Tennessee was going to be looking at a lefty starter to replace Liam Doyle, because you had some big time returning arm talent on the right hand side, because Schumpert is a righty too, right?
Yes.
So he might be in the mix. Tegan Kuhns, he looks like he's staying. He's in the mix. Then you, Braden Krenzel, who looks like he's Drew Beam 2.0 potentially. He's back in the mix for a weekend starter role. You need a lefty. And I understand the Dylan Loy part of it. If everything goes right, he could have been that guy. But to me, I thought they were going big game hunting at the lefty spot for the weekend starter anyway. So it just felt like you were going to be able to get an upgrade there. It doesn't mean you're going to get Liam Doyle, but I just thought they were going to add a lefty weekend starter out of the portal anyway. And then just Loy's kind of blocked there. And I don't think Loy has shown you enough that you can just go into next year with the uncertainty at lefty in your starting rotation and be like, yeah, Dylan Loy, he's ready. Year 3, he's going to be the guy to match with 2 other unproven guys that you like a lot, in Kuhns and Krenzel, and maybe Seibert. Is it Seibert or Seibert? Have we heard his name?
Seibert.
And who knows? And then also you're going to have some big time arms coming in here in this 2026 class as well, who's going to compete for an opportunity going into next year too. So I don't know. I don't think you're at a point where you can just throw Dylan Loy in there and just be like, yeah, man, you're the lefty in 2026.
Yeah, I don't want to say he'd be last case scenario or the, ultimate backup plan if all else fails and other guys disappoint in the fall. But yeah, he's not a guy you can guarantee a spot. Ryan hit the nail on the head, but he's a guy who still, I think, could have been one of Tennessee's top bullpen options and would have figured to be that going into the year. Of course, you can see how it pans out. He obviously was much worse in the back half of 2025 than he was in the first half. He was unbelievable in the first half. Didn't allow a run until his 14th or 15th appearance on the season, their Game 3 A&M series. So he was awesome there for a stretch. But yeah, to guarantee him a starting spot would be silly. He's a really good pitcher, and when he's on, he's good, and he's shown to do well and rise to the occasion in high leverage moments. But yeah, he's like Ryan said, a guy you would say, hey, he can go twice through the lineup, but to become a premier SEC starter just seems really, really far-fetched. And what's all the more disappointing about all this, Ryan also touched on that, is just the local factor and the fact that he could have been a big fan favorite next year.
Yeah, who's the next man up in that? Like, is there really an obvious? I mean,
if like one of these guys comes back, then could be a candidate like a Peebles or a Bargo, but that we don't think that's likely. So I don't really know. I mean,
might be the Georgia guys. Might be Jay and Levi.
I think it could be Jay. Yeah.
I think it's got to be one of those talented freshmen that played this year. Because I just don't even really know. Like Krenzel and Coons being the other two, but like I don't. And some of that's just the nature of being a pitcher. But you just don't see him. You didn't see him a ton. They made combined 40 appearances, whereas those other guys are playing every day or at least more frequently than that.
And I know we didn't talk to Krenzel a ton this year, but the personalities of those young guys aren't like the most outgoing, aren't the most like the fan favorite personalities we've seen in the past. And of course, they're 18, 19, could improve. It could be different. Maybe not improve. Doesn't really matter if you're quiet, but I think Abernathy was probably the more likely. That's at least who I'd look to, just because the fans already loved him before he ever played a game too. He was a fan favorite before he ever stepped on the field.
Yeah. What do you think, Ethan?
There's no way I'm going to be able to talk coherently about Tennessee baseball right now. I'm going to be just brutally honest with you.
You've been adamant all year long.
I have,
you just haven't seen enough from Dylan Loy.
Face,
you were just like, Dylan Loy, I'm not sure about the starter. Like, Ethan Stone has been in there and just all year long. Like, not certain. It's not...
I will say this, Chase. I genuinely am sad that Dylan Loy is leaving. So you can say that 3 out of 4 of the members of this podcast are sad, because I mean, the few trips baseball wise that I covered for 5-star preps when I did, Dylan Loy and Pigeon Forge was one of the teams I covered. That was a great game. The game I watched, I can't even remember who they were playing, but it was a fantastic game. And Loy was fantastic as well. And I talked to him afterwards. Seemed like a good guy. He was fun to watch this season and the few times that I did watch Tennessee's baseball. So you can add me to that, and you can say that 3/4 of the podcast is sad, because I don't know. We don't know where your loyalties lie.
Yeah, people forget that Dylan Loy is one of the greatest players in East Tennessee high school baseball history, two-way players in East Tennessee high school baseball history. People forget that.
He was really good.
People do forget
and
that.
I watched him.
He can mash. Maybe that's why he transferred. Maybe he wants to hit. Maybe we didn't think about that.
Hey, rosters are shrinking. What if Dylan Loy is going somewhere where he's going to be doing both? Rosters are shrinking, going down to 34. Is Dylan Loy going to be a two-way player?
I do think that you're going to see the rise of two-way players again because of these rosters shrinking. Like I think it makes way too much sense.
Well, someone in Tennessee's top 100, who we'll see if he gets to campus, he's a two-way guy potential, right? He has the wild name, right? What is his name?
It's not Schoolcraft, but you're right.
Cruz something. Lovecraft,
Cruz is
Schoolcraft. Cruz is Schoolcraft. Yeah, so maybe it is him. It's one of the two really like 6'7" pitchers that they have. It's a good two-way guy.
Yeah, and like 5'10" is basically 6 feet.
And
you know how like 6'7" is like almost 6'10". It's the same with like 5'10", 5'11". It's like 6 feet. It's like that same kind of deal.
Yeah.
You know,
people are saying.
I haven't heard the 6'7", 6'10" logic. What are you talking about?
It's just one of those things that people talk about in common like height discussion circles. Just classic guy talk in your like 20s and 30s. Like
if you're 6'7" playing Illinois high school basketball, you're basically 6'10". That's kind of the thought process.
It's also the 76ers thought process for Ace Bailey. They say, well, we can take him with the 30. He's basically 6'10". That's what Rutgers said he was.
Jack, who's your favorite Vol portal addition thus far, and who of the rumored guys who they brought in for OVs that have not committed that you would want or you think Tennessee needs the most to close with here?
Yeah, maybe a little recency bias, but I'm going to go Garrett Wright just because I like the defensive prowess, and I think that's not something that Tennessee has lacked, certainly in the outfield, but something that Tennessee could always use more of. And he's a utility guy too, can play multiple spots. We'll see what happens at the catcher spot with Peebles presumably gone. If Stone Lawless can truly take a step, become a really good bat and an everyday starter at catcher, but Wright's a guy who can start multiple spots. He's got a good bat, hits a lot of doubles too. And I haven't crunched numbers on this, but I know it would be far worse than the 24 team, of course, and likely the 22 team. Tennessee last year just hitting doubles. It didn't feel like Tennessee hit a lot of doubles last year, and Wright does that really well. Bowling Green record last season with 20 doubles, hit 8 homers a year ago. So that would be my answer to this question. Brady Frederick, really great arm out the portal from ETSU too. Got local ties, of course, with the Tennessee stuff, but I'm going to go with Garrett Wright here.
Yeah, the right part of it, Ryan, is interesting because I think everyone's immediate reaction was, oh, new catcher. And it's like, well, not so fast, my friend. Shout out to Lee Corso, because you don't know what you're getting in the outfield right now. Like, you don't know what your outfield depth's going to look like because you're going to be replacing 3 starters there. We assume Newstrom's one of those guys, but we're assuming Jay Abernathy is moving to the infield. So you're just kind of, we'll see who's in the outfield, who's not. Levi Clark, an option. He's in an option for a lot of different spots. But you look at what Wright could potentially be. Is he like next year's Dalton Bargo? And people are looking at him as next year's catcher. And it's like, well, if Stone Lawless is back, then Stone Lawless is the catcher. And you mentioned the Cannon Peebles wild card. It just feels like Cannon Peebles is not back. Whether that means portal or maybe he goes to the portal and then the draft and just to see what happens. Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like they're operating like Cannon Peebles is back in 2026.
Yeah, I don't think that's overly likely. I think he's headed for the draft. I think that to me, the part, like, I think Wright is a much better catcher than Dalton Bargo. Like, defensively, I think much better.
I forgot Bargo he was a catcher too. Like, Bargo just does everything else. I just forgot that that was an option for him too.
Yeah, like Bargo was listed as a catcher on Missouri's roster, but when he played, he was designated hitter. He very rarely. He was like the emergency catcher on these past 2 teams.
Was Dickey primarily a catcher and we just moved him around, or no?
No.
Okay.
Dickey was the one. I mean, he got really heavy like his senior year of high school, so he was kind of positionless. To me, what I like, or I think the key thing to me about this whole situation is you look at the catchers on Tennessee's roster. Stone Lawless. We'll see if the Grindlinger kid makes it to campus. I mean, he's a draft risk. But it's Levi Clark. And so your top 2 catchers are Stone Lawless and Levi Clark. All due respect to Levi Clark, I don't care. I don't want him catching. I want him first base, in the lineup every day, offense. Because they're going to need it. They're going to need offense from Levi Clark next season.
Yep.
So I like that adding the Right from the standpoint of I'm sure Levi Clark will work at catcher still some in the offseason. And if that's really what he wants to do long term, I'm sure he'll get some opportunities. But I think that gives them a little bit more freedom for him to slide to first base, to focus at first base there, and then to still have 2 very capable defensive catchers, which if Grindlinger doesn't make it to campus, you weren't really going to have that luxury, in my opinion. So I like it from that aspect, fully capable. But no, you're right. Like, it's need bodies in the outfield badly. I know Tennessee thinks he can play center field. He didn't do that. He did it a little bit, not a ton. To me, center field is the biggest question mark in the outfield. Like, if it's not Jay Abernathy, which I tend to agree.
What about the Seton Hall kid?
He's corner, though, right?
He played all right field this past year. Again,
so it might be Newstrom.
Maybe there's just not a natural center fielder on the roster.
Yeah.
Jay
well, Gilbert,
is the one
would we say Gilbert was a natural center fielder?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
I would say so.
Okay.
This is a really
high school. So
this is a really unfair critique, of Jay Abernathy, but because I think naturally you're like, he's the guy in center field you would like because he's got speed, and he can cover a lot of ground. There was one play in a midweek game. I can't remember the play, but he was scared of the wall. And Tony Vitello loves talking about you can't be scared of the wall. We're just trying to find a guy in center who's not scared of the wall. One play in a midweek game, they were probably winning by like 8 runs. It probably didn't matter at all that he was scared of the wall. he could not be scared of the wall by next year if he's starting in center field. But that was, I remember I made note of it at the time. Like he wanted no part of the wall.
That's interesting because his personality is not like Drew Gilbert and Hunter Hensley. Those guys are the wall is afraid of Drew Gilbert and Hunter Hensley.
Yes. Yeah. As Tony Vitello says, we've had to pull the reins back on those guys and not
type A personalities. And we don't know as much about Jay yet, and maybe it'll evolve, but he doesn't seem like the same kind of fire.
I do think he's like a really fierce competitor. Like people said that a lot about him, like in the fall and stuff when you're asking about him, and like clutch, good in the moment. But I don't. It's not definitely not to Gilbert's degree. Maybe it'll prove to be.
I don't think anybody will ever touch Gilbert's degree though. Like Gilbert is like I don't know if anybody else is gonna just be like Drew Gilbert. I don't think there's a lot of Drew Gilbert. And look, I love Drew Gilbert, but I just don't think there's a lot of Drew Gilbert personality types.
Liam Doyle is probably the closest thing we've seen.
Doyle's more of a maniac than Gilbert.
Doyle is probably the closest. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pitcher. So yeah, those guys they don't grow on trees, but electric stuff, and you love them when they're on your team. So who of the group here, and we'll put a bow on it here, Ryan and Jack, who of this group do you think makes it in over the next week? Who do you think Tennessee's in good shape with? Who do you think you just wouldn't bet on Tennessee landing here of the guys who have done OVs over the last week?
So I'll defer to Ryan here. We got the candidates to answer this question would be Cal, Jermod McCoy, Seton Hall, Aiden Robbins, and
Landon
Mack, Rutgers. Yeah.
Could they land all three?
Yeah, I think they could. I would say Aiden Robbins is the one I feel best about Tennessee's chances right now. But not.
There's an Andrew Fisher connection, right?
They're just from similar areas. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I think they know each other from that. And then I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I don't know if there's like one I just don't think you're going to get. I think Landon Mack's maybe, the biggest name of that bunch, or is the most sought after, just from the standpoint of he was really good as a freshman, and he is a 3-year guy, so he's going to have 2 years somewhere. But it's not like I have a bunch of intel that tells me, I think Tennessee's in a bad spot there. None of these guys I feel super strongly in any direction, but I think Mack may be the toughest one to pull. And Robbins is probably the one I'd say I feel the best about Tennessee's chances with right now.
Interesting. I think Tennessee, like this roster, it's going to come together. They're going to be in good shape. It's good. It's one of those weird situations where this roster really needed potentially to not be in Omaha right now, so that Tony and this group could really beef up what they were losing, because they're just losing so much that they're able to just host all these guys over these like last 2 weeks. That I feel like it's maybe a blessing in disguise that Tennessee was able to is going to be able to reload like they are over the next 2 weeks.
I mean, it's a heck of a spin zone. I mean, it's always the positive on that side.
I think I think it's real, right? Like I think it's Tennessee was behind the 8 ball last year, and they were lucky to get Andrew Fisher and Liam Doyle as a package deal. But I don't know. I think Tennessee kind of lucked out with their. You win the national title.
You win the national championship, makes it a little bit easier to recruit.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But like if they don't get Liam Doyle and Andrew Fisher, and I don't know, like this is a very like you already saw the problems with this team this year anyway. Like it was,
they could have been their season. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know
for sure.
It's a positive.
I will say, Tennessee was clearly overly aggressive. They had already adjusted to that, like they were going to be playing in Omaha. I mean, they had 3 kids committed by the time the season ended. So you're right. I mean, it does help being able to get all the guys on campus last week, or at least I'm sure they would have been able to get some of them, like Frederick, easy trip, and certainly they would have been home the first half of the week. But yeah, I mean that stuff all helps. But I think you saw them prepare already like they were going to be in Omaha with the way they handled some of these visits.
Ethan Stone, overreact or underreact? Tennessee going less than 8-4 in 2025 would be a disaster season.
I think probably 3 months ago, I would have told you it was an overreaction, but now I'd say it's an underreaction. Because the schedule is just so easy, and the defense is still projected to be good. And I mean, the run game just should not take that massive of a step back, in my opinion. So if Tennessee's out here losing to Oklahoma, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, and one of Arkansas, Kentucky, or Vanderbilt, I'd think that's a problem. I'd honestly go even a step further. And, I mean, I've been saying it this entire time. I think Tennessee's an 8-win team this season. I think 9 is probably on the good end. I could see anything on either side of that, right? Like I could see Tennessee potentially only winning 7 games. I could see Tennessee even winning 10 games. There's just so many question marks on offense that it's kind of hard to tell as of right now. But And obviously at the most important position, which is quarterback, Aguilar could be, what Nico was last season. He could be a little better, or he could be an absolute disaster. There's just no real way to know that right now. But Chase, it's kind of what you've been saying. I feel like the past 3 months as well, that defensively this team is just too good. It's a team that was carried to the playoff by the defense last season, and you lose Pierce, obviously you lose some spots along the defensive line, but I'm always going to trust in Rodney Garner to get the defensive line well. We've got a good secondary with McCoy obviously coming back, with Gibson back there with the Colorado transfer. So there's nothing I'm particularly worried about that says they're going to go win less than 8 games. But if we look up in 9 months and Tennessee only won 6 games, only won 7 games, yeah, I'd absolutely say that's a disaster.
Ryan will have left the group chat by like October if Tennessee's on pace for 6 or 7 wins.
And I don't think that's going to happen by any means. But yeah, I mean, if this team goes 6-6 and reverts, or even 7-5, that's terrible optics.
6-6. I genuinely, I might become the Joker. We joke about becoming the Joker. 6-6 in 2025. I will become the Joker. Like I can't do it. Like with this schedule.
Yeah, the schedule's too easy for that. If you're playing Florida's schedule, it's maybe a little different, But except for Mizzou, I'd say Tennessee has one of the easiest schedules in the SEC this season.
It would make me physically ill. Like anything other than less than 8-4 is just preposterous. Like you cannot go worse than 8-4 with this schedule. You just can't.
I think the only way that happens to me is if you lose to Syracuse.
Yes.
You lose to who?
Exactly.
Syracuse.
The wheels fall off the bus early. I can see that as well.
Yep. And you can't. I told you, Chase, when we did a pod a couple weeks ago, and I was like, what if they start Aguilar and he throws like 2 pick sixes in the first quarter? Then your offense isn't good enough to dig yourself out of a hole. That's how Tennessee would lose to Syracuse. And that's how they'd go 7-5. Mateer dices you up and you lose your 3 losable games.
Like if they lose to Syracuse, I'm gonna be wheeled into Neyland Stadium against TSU, where I look like a mental patient where they're dragging me in, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to do this anymore. It's it's dark. I'm not there as an 11.5 point favorite. I can't just wrap my head around Tennessee losing to Syracuse in Atlanta.
It's more likely though than the road trips to Starkville and Lexington.
No,
I think so.
No.
Dude, those teams are
I think it's
so
about the
bad.
same.
Respect the cowbell, number one.
Are you saying
respect the cowbell?
Are you saying it's more likely that we lose to Mississippi State than we do to Syracuse, Chase?
Oh, 100%. No question. Like, absolutely lock that one in. It's way more of a...
bad. Like Mississippi State and Kentucky.
People gave me this grief about Arkansas last year, and you just want to keep falling in this trap year over year. And I'm like, Levy knows Heupel. If Blake Shapen's healthy, that has all the makings of just we're sweating that fourth quarter where it's like 27-24.
They don't even have a Van Buren boy anymore.
Hey, Van Buren is back. He's QB2 at LSU. We can get back on the Van Buren thing after the fraudulent Garrett Nussmeier moves on here, and we can go fraudulent. Yeah.
What?
Terrible take.
He's a top 3 quarterback in the sport.
No, he's not even top 3 quarterback in the SEC.
That's crazy.
Is
top
it
3 in the league?
3 your top 3 quarterbacks in the SEC right now, Chase.
Sellers,
Lagway.
Okay.
Let me see here.
Throw Arch in there in front of him.
No, you can't throw Arch. The Arch stuff is just silly too.
Dude,
like,
I respect that.
You can't throw Arch. I'd probably go Sellers, Lagway comfortably, and then
Merklinger.
Man,
I agree with you, but I'd put Nuss.
Merklinger is right there. Y'all are gonna just. I cannot wait this fall on the pod, on the radio show. If Merklinger hits, like if I get to live off the Merklinger hit, it is just it's top notch. Like there's nothing gonna be anything like it, because guess what? You get Merk for 3 years. Like if I'm right about this one, like
I have come around to where I think Merklinger should be the starter. I like Merklinger as a starter more. And the thing is, to Jack's point, like you need him against Syracuse. Like I just like the low floor guy who's not going to lose the games, which is kind of what you need against Syracuse. I can't get past that Jake Merklinger is going to be Aaron Murray for Tennessee. That take is insane. Dude ended his career as the SEC all-time passing leader.
Jake Fromm, like he's worst case scenario.
Jake Fromm's best case scenario, but I can at least
he went to a natty.
I can see the vision there. Unfortunately, he's not going to have this. Merklinger's not going to have the surrounding cast.
I mean, he's going to have the defense. He's going to have. I mean, that Jake Fromm, that George team.
I'll tell you.
Yeah,
that's traumatic. But I'll tell you what, my Joker moment will be if Josh Heupel makes the same. I don't even know if you can call it a mistake, but if Josh Heupel does the let Justin Fields leave, let Faison Brandon leave to start Justin Fromm, Jake Merklinger, that'll be my Joker moment.
What? No. We're not doing this, because if Jake Merklinger is the guy, then Jake Merklinger is the guy. I love the idea of Faison, but it's a year-to-year sport, man, and you got to lean into Jake. You got to if Jake is the guy who gets you to 9-3 this year. Range. Like, he has to. Like, he's the guy going forward. I mean, he would be on pace to be Tennessee's all-time wins leader if he makes it.
There's varying degrees of is the guy, is my thing.
I don't know.
He can be solid this year and clearly be the best quarterback on a team, but like, is he really the guy long-term?
I don't know. It depends on how it looks. We just don't know how it's going to look.
Yeah, the thing is Tennessee is going to go 8-4 this year, and it could either look like a solid 8-4 or it could be a terrible 8-4.
Like,
but
a really
the floor is so
8-4,
high with the schedule that they could still go 8-4 and not be good.
I think a gross 8-4 is Joey Aguilar 12 starts, like an absolute gross 8-4. Where
it could be either. You can go gross 8-4 with either one.
No.
Where's Jake Merklinger from?
Savannah, Georgia, I think. Somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Calvary Day.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all saw. He was throwing with the other 4 and 5 stars at Tennessee.
Maybe he can.
Just 3 or 4 are. Yeah.
Okay.
Tennessee went and got the #1 Georgia wide receiver back-to-back years. Seemed like they have a good relationship with QB1.
Hey, Chase said this to me the other week, Schumpert. He was like, all these young guys on Tennessee's roster, they've probably played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium before. They'll be familiar with the territory. Week 1. If you have to lean on them, going to bode well. Been there before.
Spot the line. Spot the line.
It's a home game, man. It's a home game.
It will be a home game from an environment standpoint.
Yeah. Can you imagine a Syracuse fan making that booking? Like, just let's go see Ricky Collins versus Joey Aguilar in Mercedes-Benz, where we're an 11.5-point road dog.
Hold on.
Imagine being a Syracuse fan.
Oh, the Anginelli part
versus Joey Aguilar.
Okay.
Yeah. Gotta get it right.
It's a good point, Jack.
Yeah.
We'll see. That's a highly contested summer battle. Everyone's locked in. Is it Anginelli or is it Ricky Collins? Who wins that one?
Can you imagine being a Syracuse fan and watching Tennessee beat you in a really ugly game, like 24-14 to open the season, and just knowing Rick Barnes is coming up to your place to beat that ass the first week of December?
He's gonna be here soon. You can't escape.
Can't escape Rick Barnes in a 15 to 25 point win over your now poverty basketball program.
December's getting closer.
Winter is coming.
Do you know what'd be great? They need Rick Barnes at this game, and he's just looming at the top of the bins. Like, he's just looming.
Someone has to get Rick there.
Well, the thing is about Rick Barnes too is he only wears 2 colors, so just make sure he's wearing his all black fit that day too, instead of his all gray fit.
My wife is adamant he's got to stop the grays. Like, it's got to be black or orange. I know he he doesn't like the orange or whatever, but he needs to wear black or orange. He can't do the grays. My wife is so out on Rick Barnes wearing the gray.
I think the gray looks fine, to be honest.
I don't know. She's out. We need to do some polling here. Jack, where we were talking about catcher here a little bit. What do you think catcher looks like in 2026? Are you assuming Cannon Peoples is gone? Are you assuming Stone Lawless is the guy? Is it Wright? Is it Levi Clark? What do you think it looks like in 2026? And what intrigues you the most about this room in 26?
Yeah, I think you have to expect Peoples to be gone for Lawless to be the guy. And, Stone Lawless is a guy who has, Tony Vitello has said multiple times, it's basically been teammate of the year back-to-back seasons. So this is a guy that everybody loves in the program and that everybody will be rooting for. And if he could just be a little bit more consistent, you've seen the flashes of greatness with his bat, and he's solid enough defensively. So if he can just be more consistent, I think he could be a fine option towards the bottom of the order for Tennessee next year and be a solid catcher. So I feel like he's by far and away the leading candidate to be Tennessee's top catcher next year. Levi Clark, as Ryan said earlier, just feels like a plug and play at first base. It makes more sense to play him over there. See what ends up happening with Wright. I know he's played more catcher, but I think if Lawless is a guy who's truly going to take a step and live up to expectations from just what we've heard about him as a player over the years, then it has to happen next year, and then that would result in him being the top catcher.
Yeah, the weird part about Cannon, I thought he got better with the bat, and I think he became one of Tennessee's more consistent middle to back end of the lineup guys. But the defense just fell apart down the stretch, and it's just it's so weird. Tennessee and where they've been at catcher defensively is just, you have the elite of the elite defensively with Cal Stark, and his first base pickoffs were just unbelievable last year. And then you have the Evan Russell era where it was just kind of like, is it Evan Russell? Is it Jared Dickey? Who is it? And Evan Russell was just great at the plate, but it was just, obviously there were issues with guys running on Evan Russell at catcher. So you live with that a little bit. And then you thought Cannon Peebles was going to be the blend of the two. As a freshman all ACC player, he mashed at NC State, and you thought he would grow into the complete catcher that Tennessee has not had to this point during this run. And now it looks like you're kind of back to like Stone. Maybe, I don't know, the power is there. Is Stone more of like a Cal Stark potential? Like, obviously Cal is a big teammate guy and everyone loved Cal. That same kind of deal. Like, is that who Stone Lawless is? I don't know. I think right now the leader in the clubhouse for starting catcher who gets the most amount of starts is Stone Lawless, right? Like, I don't know if y'all would disagree, but I feel like if you had to put betting favorite who gets the most starts at catcher next season, it's probably Stone, right?
Yeah, that would be my bet. I think it's maybe a little bit closer between him and Wright than than y'all are making it out to be, but not, that's just very dependent on how the outfield shakes out, I think.
It just feels like the outfield's got too many holes where they're going to have to put Wright out there.
I just think maybe. And it just depends on where all these guys get signed. You feel good about the 4 freshmen all starting. I think you get the kid from Cal.
Well, they'll be sophomores. You don't mean the incoming freshmen. You mean...
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. The 4 rising sophomores. I mean, you get a guy or two into portal or one of these freshmen hit. It's like, you could go 2-2. Like, I think at least one of those guys starts in the outfield. You get Aiden Robbins' kid from Seton Hall, then it's like you're just one guy away. You're one piece away from not necessarily needing him in the outfield every single game. So
true.
I think it's if they get a corner infielder, because if they do and Manny ends up being a middle infielder, then and they get the Cal guy also, then there's no need for Jay in the infield anymore. Saying no need it's not that cut and dry, because he
is
could
Manny
just be
okay
better.
being third again?
I think Manny, yeah, for sure. And I also think Manny can play short.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is he okay with that though? Is that like to be a third baseman back-to-back years? And he's a draft guy next year.
I mean, the deal is all these guys want to play short. That's
what I'm saying. Like, I kind of
they all want to. So, and they're not in the portal. Maybe hopefully I'm not jinxing anything.
Well, maybe
they're not in the portal. They're ready to compete. Is how I view it.
Can the Cal kid play third?
I think he can play. I would guess so. I was told he could play multiple positions, pretty versatile. But
so maybe that's how you solve it.
Basically, second last year.
Well, you saw this year. You moved around anyway. It doesn't matter where you start in the infield this year. You're getting moved around. So who knows where those guys end up? But yeah, I think it's Tennessee is, I think, going to be more locked and loaded in 2026. I think this is going to be a stronger overall roster. I mean, we talked about it, and we'll move here to Ethan here on Jermod McCoy real quick. But how many? I mean, we talked about it's just kind of weird because Tennessee had the number 1 recruiting class, so they had several freshman starters, key contributors. Is there going to be one? Because we haven't talked about anybody in the lineup. Is there not going to be one true freshman, even in this top 3 class, that's going to be starting in the 1 through 9 potentially?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it happens, but I mean, the guys that are studs are going to be playing professional baseball. So I mean,
who's the best stud who might make it to campus?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not good enough at ranking these guys after the 4 dudes that are projected to go in the first round, I guess. I like the kid at Oak Ridge a lot. And he's a borderline draft risk. He's an outfield guy. Maybe it's him. I'm blanking on his name. Michael Teasley, I think, or Mike Teasley, something like that.
Oh, you know what I just realized? We haven't even talked about the Walter State kid, Myatt, like where he is.
Well, I think he's more of a DH, right? He hasn't played much defense in his college career.
Yeah, second base and outfield is what he's capable of playing, but I think
and he's also draft risk.
He's in the Ozuna role in 26.
It's a bit
what
of
you
a
thought
get
you were
on
getting
base
from Lozano.
situation. It's a bit of a money ball situation of, it's not that hard. Figure out defense. We just want guys to get on base.
Ethan, would you bet on Jermod McCoy being the first Vol drafted next year, or do you think there is someone else that you would pick over Jermod in 2026?
I think a fully healthy Jermod McCoy that has a season similar or better than he did last season would indeed be the first one picked out of Tennessee. And that's twofold. One, because he's a really good player, and two, because I just don't really know who would even challenge him, at least as of June. I'm not sure who would challenge him for that spot. Joshua Josephs has the potential, as you've talked about, Chase, and obviously there's a few guys in the defensive line. They're probably going to be drafted as well. But, McCoy's the best NFL talent. And, something I feel like that's flying under the radar with a lot of people is not necessarily the injury, but the fact that Tennessee's toughest test, at least toughest wide receiver test, is probably going to be Georgia. And they're, week 3. So how is McCoy's injury going to look at that point? I'm not expecting he's going to miss any time, but, is he going to be a little slower out of the gate than some people are expecting? And how's it going to look when, Zachariah Branch and Noah Thomas are on the other side of the field? So, ultimately, I have faith in McCoy. I think he's a really good player. He was obviously a fan favorite last season, one of my favorite players to watch. So he's a first rounder if he does what he did last season. And, to be honest, I expect him to get to that point. I'm obviously not sure where his injury progression is at this point, but, he's given me no reason to trust otherwise that he won't be able to be a first round pick.
I think Lance Hurd is probably the best alternative bet. Like Joshua Joseph's, I think potential, but Lance Hurd, it just would not surprise me at all if he's a first round pick next year. Like Lance Hurd, if all things go according to plan and Lance lives up to what he could have been at LSU. I mean, he was a big time 5-star prospect. He's going to be a premium position. He's going to have a lot of spotlight. If Tennessee's good, I think Lance Hurd is a big reason why, especially on offense. If he's protecting, whether it's Joey or Jake's blindside exceptionally well, and he's one of the highest graded PFF tackles in the SEC next year, that wouldn't surprise me. I don't know if it would surprise y'all, but if Lance Hurd ended up being a first round pick next year, that would not be jaw dropping to me.
It would surprise me, maybe short of jaw dropping. I'd agree he's the best bet besides McCoy, just because of the ceiling. I'm certainly not nearly as high on him as you are, but I just look at these other guys who are maybe more proven things at the college level, and I just don't really see first round ceiling. See a lot of day 2 guys, a lot of good players that go day 2. I don't see a ton of first round ceiling. So yeah, I mean, I think Hurd has that ceiling. He's probably further from it than some of those other guys are to their ceilings, but yeah, no, I would agree that he's probably the second best bet behind McCoy.
It's also because linebacker just isn't that valued when it comes to draft capital. And Tennessee has good players there, but don't.
Yeah,
really
Aaron Carter should go high if he has a good final year, or he's back for another year. I don't know what Aaron Carter does. I don't know if he's a 3-year or 4-year guy.
Ricky Gibson's one I could see.
Yeah.
Because I think he's got the high ceiling.
I think that's
big
a good
season
thing.
for him.
Yeah.
Boo is going to be the ultimate, like, interesting, like how they
He's
view
going to
him.
go first overall, right?
Oh my God. Like, tell me, get me started on Boo. Boo Carter, most talented player in Tennessee.
2 Heismans.
Dude, Boo Carter, Heisman finalist next year.
That's the type of thing Tennessee's going to need for their offense to be legit good.
I think if you just get Mike Matthews and Boo Carter on the field at the same time a lot this year, good things are going to happen with this offense. I want those two on the field together as much as humanly possible. Like, good things are going to happen. They're the shiftiest guys or the twitchiest guys on this roster. I think Boo Carter on special teams is going to be electric. I think you're going to get a lot of that 2023 where the offense was just dragging down the vibes, and then D. Williams takes a punt deep, and you're like, oh, that was fun. Oh, that was fun. And I think Boo Carter is going to do that a lot on special teams for Tennessee, where if the offense is stuck in the mud, Boo Carter is going to bring Neyland Stadium back to life, and you're like, oh, right, we have the best player on the field at times, and it's fun. Boo Carter being on my football team's fantastic.
I'm
Can't
very
wait.
interested to
We
see
get 2 more years of this.
how they utilize him on offense. He is such a good athlete. I feel like in space that, I don't know. It makes me feel like he's going to be doing a lot of, I don't know, once or twice a game, the stuff that you don't see coming. I guess he's going to be like the trick play guy. And yeah, I would agree with you, Chase. He's a guy I'm looking forward to as well.
Locked in. Boo Carter. Biggest guy. Jake Merklinger, Boo Carter. I hope people are writing this down. Just buying the stock like in 2026 and 2027.
Basically,
Lance Hurd
Baker
too.
and D.D. Westbrook, circa 2016.
Oh, there you go.
You're a Heisman finalist.
I think Boo Carter is definitely in the running for Heisman finalist. Probably not this year. I don't
Best
think
quarterback
team's gonna
wide
go.
receiver duo in Tennessee football history.
Jake and Boo.
Yeah.
26 maybe.
Buy stock.
If Jake wins the job, like Jake being the all-time wins leader at Tennessee, not out of the question because he'd be a 4-year starter. And I think this team would win a lot of football games.
How many natties?
Oof.
Minimum 2, right?
Who's to say? Do we get Tristan Gibbons and Tristen Keys as well?
He doesn't want to put a ceiling, a cap on the ceiling for Jake.
It's too soon. It's too soon.
Real quick, where would Chase be if Boo had transferred?
If Boo would transfer,
Where would you be at mentally with this team and this program? If
Oh,
Boo had
he would
transferred?
have talked himself into 9-3 still, but
no. Boo would have been devastating. Out of all the rumblings this offseason, Boo was the most depressing to me. Like Boo was going to actually be like, no, can't happen. Let him play offense. Like Boo Carter, he has earned 10 snaps at slot next year. You kidding me? We're doing this when like what you got last year at receiver, and you're like, I don't know if we can promise Boo Carter 10 to 15 snaps on offense. I don't even know what the snap number was. I don't know what the ask was. I just know that if Boo Carter wants it, let Boo Carter try it. I'm not in the business of telling Boo Carter what he can't do on a football field. Not in the business of it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with everything you said. The only thing I would say, as to your point of that would be the most devastating to you, I would just love the people to go listen to the Vols Sports Guys the Monday after Nico left, and then go listen to the Vols Sports Guy the next Monday, in which Chase did one of the true 180s I have ever seen on, or just all spring when he was talking about how underrated Nico was, to what Nico's loss meant 8 days after he was gone.
I don't know what to tell you. Built different.
That's
There's
true.
been a material change.
Ryan, the most intriguing OV visitor this weekend for the Vols for you was who?
Yeah, it's got to be Tristen Key, I think. I mean, to me, it's no brainer. Probably, I guess it depends on what site you look on for Phase on Brandon, but like Tristen Keys has the potential to be the number 2, maybe even number 1, highest 3, right up there with Nico and David Sanders, and Phase on Brandon is for the highest rated recruit that Tennessee would have landed under Josh Heupel. You and me, Chase, have talked ad nauseum on this podcast the last 6 months about our lack of trust or disbelief of how Tennessee has handled the receiver room at times. And, Tristen Keys, we talk about a guy that could come in and play right away as a freshman. So to me, it's a no-brainer. To me, it's him.
Yeah, the thing about Tristen Keys, and we talked about it on the radio show today, was just that, like, part of me is just, I need to see one of these receivers pop before I'm like, all right, Tristen Keys, exciting times. Another 5-star, another blue chip wide receiver in this room that literally has 6 of 7 players are blue chippers. Like, they're all super young, but 6 of 7 are blue chippers. So,
I mean, you're ready to crown Mike Matthews.
like,
he's got 9 passes.
Mike Matthews, Jake Merklinger, and Boo Carter all breaking out for Tennessee next year at the same time.
Bolitnikoff, Davey O'Brien, Heisman.
Who says no?
Put your bets in now. Odds are great.
Call the sports book specifically to make sure they give you Mike Matthews odds.
Do you know what? I mean, I already have a radio show called this, but I mean, that needs to be called The Chase. Like, that needs to catch on. Did you bet The Chase over the next year? Did you bet that? Yeah.
Oh, by the way, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, kind of. But The Chase, great name. Obviously slam dunk. But I had an alternative name that I also love. Chase and Takes.
Ooh.
You could do a segment on it. Like, are we chasing takes or not? Like, you give a take, and if I'm chasing that take, I agree. I'll chase that take. You just
this could be on a Friday. We could do this on a Friday show.
Yeah, there you go.
We could have this Chase and Takes.
This is how magic happens, people. People are getting the look. behind the curtain how magic happens.
This is why they get paid the big bucks.
I mean, hey, I'm here for it. I like chasing takes.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, Chase. Before I derailed you, why?
No, what were we doing? The chase, the bet, the
Tristen Keys,
the big trio. Yeah, no. For me, it's like I don't want to overthink this, but to me, it was like Tristan Givens. Like it's a Tennessee Texas A&M battle. He's a 5-star in a lot of the recruiting services, 4-star in I think 1, maybe 2. But big checkbox here. Georgia kid, Carver, big time there. It's a huge step up. He's playing elite competition in the state of Georgia, so that matters. But in all seriousness, where has Tennessee gotten the best bang for their buck? It's just rotating. I love Tennessee. The best version of Tennessee football, or the safest version of Tennessee football under Tim Banks and Josh Heupel, is when they have dominant trench play. And that takes away the uncertainty at receiver, the uncertainty at quarterback. You're able to plug and play at running back anyway. That's why the Savion Hyder thing still is just really weird to me, that they're in so deep there where you're like, I don't know if that's where you really want to allocate your money. To me, I would just there's a strong part of me that just kind of wants to keep stacking big time trench players. Lance Hurd, David Sanders, Bennett Warren, Jordan Ross, Caleb Herring. You just keep the James Pierce of the world. Just keep stacking those guys. And I'm not as in on the skill position guys as much as I was when Heupel first arrived. To me, I'm like, man, I just want to be better and be able to bully people so much more on Saturdays with those guys than hoping Tristen Keys is the first Heupel guy receiver to break out here. And I mean, like I said, I'm really optimistic about Mike Matthews this year and Braylon Staley and company, but still TBD on that front. It's not TBD is Ronnie Gardner and Coach Chop maximizing what they're getting out of that room. And if you keep adding 5-stars into that group, and I don't know, there's something really fun about watching Georgia defense in their front seven just maul people to death. And I think Tennessee having that potentially with how they've recruited that position and how they've recruited the front seven over the last couple of years, I don't know. It's really intriguing to me. Like there's a strong part of me that just kind of really wants Tennessee to just be able to just bulldoze people with their front seven most Saturdays.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's being good in the trenches and second the quarterback plays to me is the most important part of football. So from that perspective, I completely get it. Like I think that's a completely fair take. I would go from the other perspective of I feel really good about Coach Shop and Ronnie Gardner maximizing what they have in that room and landing a top 200 kid if they don't get the 5-star. Whereas I don't necessarily feel as good about that at the receiver spot. And I don't know, maybe Tristan Keys isn't a complete lock or a sure thing, but that's a room that needs some sure things.
Final thing, and we'll wrap up here. Greenville suddenly becoming basketball U here in East Tennessee. Trey Thompson, it's not basketball season, but it's kind of, hey, this is kind of an under the radar thing because you look at his offer list, Ryan, I think this is right up you and Ethan's bread and butter here with just 4-star, intriguing player, UConn offer. I think he grew up a Kansas fan. Jacoby Gillespie, obviously, Greenville kid. Is Trey Thompson a big-time target for Tennessee in this 2026 cycle? Is he someone who is a plug-and-play starter and a really good college player? Right? What does he project based on what you've seen and heard? How big of a deal is Trey Thompson out of Greenville this cycle?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point he's a for sure take. I would stop short of saying that he's a plug-and-play starter or something like that day one. I do think he ends up being like a fringe top 50 recruit when it's all said and done from a ranking standpoint. And there's a bunch of big name guys Tennessee's recruiting, kind of like last year. There was 6 or 7 fringe 5-stars and they end up getting 1. You're swimming in heavy waters there. And then there's a number of lower 4-stars, 3-stars you're recruiting. Those low 4-star, 3-stars. I think Thompson's the only one I would say right now is for sure a take for them. So, it's a big time kid. When I talked to him, T said, it sounded like Tennessee and Purdue were kind of his 2 favorites, but he noted that those are the 2 places he's seen of the big schools. And he's going to wants to go to UConn and Indiana. Rod Clark was his lead recruiter at Tennessee originally, obviously at Indiana now. And then you said, I grew up a Kansas fan. He when he mentioned visits he was planning on taking this summer, he didn't mention Kansas, which I thought was a little surprising given that nature. But yeah, certainly
he's watched that offense the last couple of years.
He did. I will say too, Tennessee football, Kansas basketball. He was a Tennessee football fan. Went to a lot of Tennessee football games. So
I have some thoughts on that because I grew up around a lot of Georgia fans who were also Duke basketball fans.
Yeah. No, it's not the best, but it's not like one of those guys. Like I feel like, and Jack, we're both a little bit different, being in Middle Tennessee and West Tennessee. But like when you grow up in Tennessee, a lot of times people that aren't Tennessee fans like hate Tennessee growing up because they're around all Tennessee fans. It's not like one of those situations. Like he liked Tennessee. It was just, Kansas is the blue blood in basketball. And, I'm sure he probably rooted for Tennessee basketball too, but Kansas is the one that he likes a ton.
Where is he on the Pember meter?
I don't know
what the Pember meter is.
1 to Pember. 1 to Drew Pember. What do you mean?
Like how good is he?
Yeah. Like Pember being the best because Pember is being like
Michael
top here in East Tennessee, but
yeah, he shoots the ball probably not as well as Pember, but he does shoot the ball well. I think that's one of the reasons Tennessee likes him so much and why he'll go.
Also, speaking of, and this is part of it, I said what?
Totally interrupted him. It's okay.
I did. That was just I was going to lose my train
of thought.
A
lot more physically put together than Drew Pember.
Yeah, that was fair, Jack. That was an aggressive. Just like let me interject here.
Chase is trying to grab his show back. I respect it.
I'm not used to it. I'm in over my head. No, I was going to say is Pember. Oh crap! I just lost my train of thought. I just like that whole Jack getting on to me about doing that. I think I just lost my train of thought here.
UNC Asheville ponytail.
No. I think Ethan and I were talking about this, where it's like the biggest what if in Tennessee men's basketball history is if Drew Pember spends his first 3 years at UNC Asheville and then comes over to Tennessee for his final year. He did it backwards. Like if Pember does the 50-point game at UNC Asheville his junior year and just spends like the couple of years as a pick and pop monster at UNC Asheville and then comes to Tennessee at the end, Tennessee missed that kind of big. Like he would have been so much fun for Tennessee with what we saw at Asheville. He did it backwards. That's the Drew Pember. Like he did it backwards.
Tennessee beat Purdue with DK and Pember.
Dude, Pember on Edie.
I don't know if that would go the way you think it is.
Can Edie come out and he can't?
I'm on board with you, Chase. I agree. I'm not sure that would have gone the way you think.
Get ready to learn Appalachia, buddy.
I'm just picturing Zach Edey turning left shoulder into Drew Pember's chest and just the air getting taken out.
No.
That is a good take. I would maybe say the bigger what if is if Dave Hamilton had listened to Ernie Grunfeld and hired this Bucknell coach named Jay Wright in 2002. I think that might have been a bigger what if.
Slightly.
But still, you're right. It's a good take. Ethan and I, we needed a road trip to Greenville in the fall, early winter, and watch Trey Thompson, get some boots on the ground.
I guess we're just like we don't make the cut here. It's just this is a Ryan and Ethan adventure. All right,
it's a Daily Beacon only thing.
Yeah.
The nosebleeds.
They just completely like we weren't even on the pod still.
Have binoculars. One of us binoculars, the other one keeping a game book.
You need to be one of you need to dress up like Bill Simmons at Conspiracy Bill, like with just the black Ray-Ban glasses and the top hat and stuff. Like you're just in a trench coat.
Just write down. He's like Cade Phillips but can shoot. Take.
That's great. And also, I don't know, Cade Phillips starting 3 next year.
He's gonna let him fly. I want to see 53.
Cade Phillips, lethal outside shooter this year. Who says no?
Open practice tomorrow, so
I need an absolute report on this. Cade Phillips being an active 3-point threat, game changer. I'm in it. I'm here for it. Ryan Schumpert, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at RockyTopInsider.com this week?
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it, but open practice on Tuesday for Tennessee basketball. We'll have practice report. We're talking to Justin Gainey, Amari Evans, and Amari Abram too. So we'll have stuff from that, especially on the YouTube page. So coverage from that, Tennessee basketball transfer portal, Tennessee baseball transfer portal, whatever comes up with that, and then Tennessee football recruiting, obviously a busy time. So all those things going over at Rocky Top Insider.
There you go. Ethan Stone, what about you over at SaturdayDownSouth.com?
Yeah, it won't be me specifically, but team on the news desk will have full coverage of Omaha as that college baseball finishes up there. And then I'm gonna have a couple columns this week coming out just because we got some vacations to fill. I don't know what it's gonna be, but they'll be this week. So be on the lookout for that. And then obviously we'll have full recruiting and basketball and all other breaking news on the news desk.
There you go. Jack Foster, what about you at Omaha Productions as well?
Yeah, first thing, I just want to say thanks for letting me back clean up here, just like Dylan Loy will be doing so next year at Kentucky. So
I'm doing it clockwise. There's a method to the madness. Like I'm doing the clockwise thing. I'm wrapping around.
Yeah, no, Omaha production stuff.
Not a cleanup guy. Jack was really. I don't know if that was that a genuine. Like, were you okay wrapping up here, or is that like you did not want to go last year?
I said thank you for allowing me to hit cleanup, just like Dylan Loy will be doing next year at Kentucky.
Okay, all right.
I don't see what's so
The
bizarre.
Loy boys are rising 1-5.
That was my bad. I was just making sure. I was just making sure.
Like a phoenix.
I'm like I think you should leave. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I didn't do. Yeah. You know the scene. Anyway. Yeah. US Open recap this week. So a little timely right now, but SV Pod US Open recap, a lot of fun. And Always College Football had Matt Rule on the show this week. Coveted year 3, Nebraska's entering. Matt Rule year 3s are awesome, but will it be awesome in Lincoln? We'll see. And the Mina Kimes show, not quite sure what she's doing. We tape tomorrow, so we'll see.
There you go. Ryan Schumpert, Ethan Stone, Jack Foster. It's great to have the Tennessee Vols sports guys all together here on the Brady Bunch YouTube channel here with the way this panel looks. But we're back. So I appreciate you guys making the time as always. And for Jack and Ethan, I'll see you later this week. Ryan Schumpert, who knows when I'll see Ryan Schumpert next. The man of mystery. He's all over the place.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.